Are we having fun yet? This is a review of Universal Soldier, a cinematic adventure for the Everyday Hero system. Let's dive in. So here we have the Universal Soldier, a cinematic sourcebook compatible with the Everyday Hero system in PDF form, might I add. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back. The path to paradise is just a leap of faith away, for even in death, one can be reborn into an improved version of themselves. Washed away are the pains of regret or of mistakes made in a past life. Thanks to the science and visionary foresight of Dr. Christopher Greger and Colonel Edward Perry, the world was forever changed when the Unisol program documents found their way to the press in a groundbreaking expose that shook the foundations of the CIA. Now, a genetic scientist named Dr. Sharp returns to the public eye with new secrets. Secrets the public has begun to embrace with little regard to the consequences. The next generation of Unisols are the only thing that stands between a cult of personality and worldwide assimilation. And there we go. The introduction serves as a very good starting point for anyone who has not seen the Universal Soldier and delves a little bit deeper into the lore. By the way, there are about 6 movies in the franchise, and the plot gets a little more out there than the last, let's just say. There is a Sirenscape QR code that will take you to the web page for where you can purchase the sound sets for some of these Everyday Hero source books. It's a good purchase if you're looking to add immersion to your games. This time around, we get not only 1, nor 2, but 3 new origins to choose from, in addition to the standard humans. The first is the Cyborg. You have 1 or more powerful cybernetic enhancements that you are trained to use. Select this origin if you want to begin the game as a level 1 hero with cybernetics with a strain value above 0. You need not choose this origin to begin with strain 0 cybernetics, nor to take the cybernetic tolerance feat at later levels. What is very interesting about this origin is that the level of enhancements you choose will actually determine your starting ability scores. So you can either have minor enhancements, major enhancements, or extreme enhancements, which will give you your strain bonuses, but will also determine like your point buy number or your starting array, or even how you roll if you're doing the random roll thing for stats or ability scores. Next is the synthetics. Basically, you're a Terminator, a robot in sheep's clothing. Human clothing. These guys get a higher maximum strength and intelligence ability score. I think it's about 22 for both of those and 20 for the rest. And last but certainly not least is the Unisols. Just like in the movies, these are reanimated cyborgs that heal very quickly, have advantage on strength checks, and the maximum for strength, dexterity, and constitution ability scores is 22. The only downside is that these guys need to rest in below freezing conditions. There are 3 new backgrounds to choose from. So we have the Corporate Legacy, Early Cybernetics, and the Grizzled Veteran. And we have 5 new professions, like the Cybernetics Engineer, Cybernetics Surgeon, Indentured Warrior, Mercenary, and Off the Grid. We've got 3 new classes, one of which I really feel like it truly belongs here, but the other 2 are nice and give me that it's new because it's in an expansion feeling. First up is the Billionaire, who is a smart hero. Their whole shtick is that they have employees that they can use to perform mundane tasks, and they're filthy rich, meaning they have a wealth level of 6 and can afford pretty much anything. A couple of their plans include having you or an ally come prepared with special ammo or some sort of an edge that allows for extra damage, although my favorite has got to be the check your account ability, which allows you to transfer a large sum of money to an NPC's bank account as some sort of a bribe. This is limited by the CR of the NPC, so no, you cannot just automatically bribe the boss. It doesn't work like that. And I know some of my players really wish it would. Next is the Cyber Modder, who's a tough hero. These guys are all about switching their cyber mods quickly whenever they rest, and they have a higher strength threshold. The Networker is the last class on the list, and they are a charming hero. These guys have a loyal assistant, either expert or muscle, that they can command. If anything, these guys are like the execs from Cyberpunk Red and their team members. There are also 9 new feats, although 6 are multi-class feats for the 3 new classes. 1 gives you a contact, 1 increases your maximum strength, and 1 makes your unarmed strikes even better by making you kick. Go figure. The big new thing in this sourcebook has got to be the inclusion of cybernetics, although the information is in the new hero options, which makes a little bit of sense. Characters who have cybernetics have a strength threshold. If you go over this threshold, you end up with penalties. For example, if you go 1 or 2 over, then you have disadvantage on dexterity and constitution ability checks and saving throws. If you go 3 to 4 over, you reduce movement speed by 10 feet, disadvantage on attack rolls. And if you go 5 or more over, that means you can barely move, which is considered restrained. So don't do that. That's bad. There are cybernetics for your arms and hands, your internal organs, your legs and feet, your mental, which is your brain power, I suppose. You have nanites, which allow PCs to resist illnesses. You have sensory enhancements, skeletal enhancements, skin enhancements, and other external enhancements. Overall, I think this is a pretty solid list of ways to cybernetically enhance your characters when compared to games like Cyberpunk. Although some of these enhancements have no mechanical benefits, like 2 of the nanite enhancements, or just being able to replace your arm with like a prosthetic arm and things like that, which is really nice. Not everything needs to be mechanical. There are some things that can be narrative focused, and that's perfectly okay, and I'm down with that. So let's say you want to enhance your character. Well, you're going to need to undergo surgery. Surgery has a complexity tied to it, from trivial, minor, major, and then extreme. Each has a surgery time, surgery DC, which is both a sleight of hand and medicine check by whoever's doing the surgery, the amount of exhaustion the patient receives after the surgery, and the recovery time to get rid of each level of exhaustion. I actually kind of find it really weird that the person doing the surgery has to make the check, because I would have figured that if you're a player, then you would want to make the roles as player facing as possible instead of having like an NPC doctor make the roll for you. But then again, anything could go wrong. I just would have preferred to have like some sort of a constitution check tied to, the surgery on the player side. Contacts are another new rule. These are people that can help your PC out from time to time. Each contact has a level associated with them, which provides them with their skill bonus. And also sometimes you can request items that they would normally have access to from them as well. And here comes the obligatory spoiler warning. If you plan on playing this, then definitely ask your GM before watching this portion. Return to Eden is the adventure for this source book. In it, the PCs are tasked with traveling through the Florida Keys to apprehend a mad scientist with a cult following. The Session 0 is very interesting in that it has the PCs playing as Unisouls dropping into Eden's Gate, which is a compound that has attracted various scientists and venture capital paramours, as the evil scientist Dr. Sharp manages to reanimate a corpse from cryostasis. The players are taken through the events of the operation minute by minute, which is interesting in of itself, and are given choices as to what they do. So kind of like a quick choose your own adventure type of a deal here. This mission ultimately ends in failure, but the choices they made may have some bearing as to how their characters are introduced in the scenario. Fast forward 20 or so years later, and the PCs hop into a van to begin their mission. They are tasked with finding out just what exactly Dr. Sharp is doing. He is suspected of conducting illegal experiments involving reanimating human corpses. Who would have thought? That's a bad thing. Don't do that. The shuttle drops the PCs off at Key Largo at a little tourist trap called Conch City. Here they can talk to the other tourists and the owner of the shop, Ben Reyes, and suddenly, bank robbers make a scene. Do the PCs intervene and risk exposing themselves, or do they stay low? And the rest of the adventure, at least where Act 1 is concerned, is very formulaic. PCs acquire a vehicle, they travel to the next location, and they uncover clues as to what is going on, and for whatever reason, their vehicle breaks down and they have to find a new one to get to the next place. If the PCs actually do end up saving Ben, by the way, then he'll help them out by giving some information. He's not a very big fan of Dr. Sharp, unlike everyone else around here, and he'll even lend them a vehicle. Wow, he's really a nice guy, isn't he? Eventually, the PCs make it to Key West, and the GM can sprinkle in all sorts of complications before the second act. But once they arrive, there are a few locations that they can explore, such as the Tourism Center, the Sloppy Parrot, Grand Vista del Key, Stand and Shell Marina, and the Helix Sanctuary, the company Dr. Sharp runs. As the PCs explore around, they begin to uncover some very strange things. The citizens are absolutely in love with Dr. Sharp, like weirdly in love. If the PCs were discovered, then the citizens will be against them, and if one spots them, then they all seem to know where they are, kind of like some sort of a hive mind. All signs point to the island cluster of Dry Tortugas. If the players are captured because they expose themselves in Act 1 or Act 2, then they end up at Dr. Sharp's base. If not, then they will have to secure a boat to get to the island. Once there, and the PCs make it into the base, they come face to face with a young-looking Dr. Sharp, and he monologues. But once that monologue is finished, the ceiling explodes and a lone figure superhero lands in the middle to unleash chaos in hell. Andrew Scott has arrived and does what he does best. Also, I want to point out that the dude was cut up to pieces at the end of Universal Soldier, and he seems to always come back in the movies. With Andrew Scott causing destruction to the Unisouls, the PCs see Dr. Sharp escaping on a helicopter. Luckily for them, there's an extra helicopter, but they must get through some Unisouls first. With the helicopter secured, the PCs can give chase using the Everyday Heroes chase rules, which are actually included right here as some of the chase complications, and also what happens at each round, which is very nice because last time I checked, there were no flying chase rules. Dr. Sharp ultimately makes it to his destination at the top of Miami's biggest building. But not only that, he's got 5 machines set around the roof of the building that will send out an electrical signal that will kill everyone in the city. To make matters worse, Dr. Sharp's followers are also looking to protect him. The PCs either win or they die. The end of the book has the stats for the NPCs in this adventure and a lot more, like anything that you would really need for some sort of a cyberpunk game is gonna be in here. You've got like drones and other universal soldiers or unisouls and just a lot of just cyberpunk type enemies to fight through or use. But then you've got the 2 characters from the movie that really matter, Luke Devereaux and Andrew Scott, plus Veronica Roberts, I guess. There are also 5 pre-generated characters. 4 of them are Unisouls, and there's like 1 Helix executive who may as well be called Helix Defective, which I find really funny that they would have included that. I just would have assumed that all of them would have been Unisouls. I mean, can you imagine being that one player who showed up late to the game but had to choose the Helix executive and not some badass, Unisoul? Then again, the Helix executive is a billionaire, so hey, they get all the money. To be honest, the second act really didn't do it for me, which is really strange. Session 0 is weird, but has the potential if you can connect all of the plot points together. Act 3 is obviously going to be what everybody remembers. I mean, Andrew Scott just superhero lands in the middle of this battle with the boss and just goes to town on everyone. There's even a section in the end that describes what happens to him in this adventure, because things can get really hectic. Out of all of these source books for the Everyday Hero system, the Universal Soldier one has more bang for your buck, as in it turns the entire system into a cyberpunk game. So if you're really into that aspect of sci-fi fiction, then this is definitely going to be the book that you want to get. You don't have to do just Universal Soldier. You can actually just do like a whole cyberpunk, set it in Night City and things like that with nice 5e coding if you prefer that system. I think that this book really does bring a lot to the table, and so it's definitely worth it if you're into cyberpunk. Anyways, that's going to do it for this review. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Give this video a huge thumbs up to support the series, and I will see you guys in the next video.